It's really going to be a long and interesting weekend in sports. From today, of course, there is the Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois fight. It's not the usual midnight fight. It's just the evening fight. It's the Riyadh season. Joshua and Dubois. That is the hashtag everywhere in the world. The IBF heavyweight bout. And it's going to be one winner at the end of the fight. Today, the 21st of September 2024, that the question that's going around is who will lift the belt at the end of the fight? Is it Anthony Joshua or the reigning champion, Daniel Dubois? All right. We are boxing. There is also the Singapore Grand Prix in Formula One. Will there be any more gap, or it's going to be a tight and close-up distance between these two drivers? Talking about Lando Norris and defending champion Max Verstappen. Will there be an extension of the gap or distance between the constructors championship between McLaren and Red Bull? It's another question that you want to ask. And of course, in football, Man City and Arsenal, the game is just less than a day to go. And another question is, will there be another two-horse race this season, or it's going to be just wide open? Welcome to the show, Sports Trip on Lagos Traffic with 96.1 FM. My name is Dare-Ogun. Dare-Ogun is here. Jimmy, good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. It feels great to be here. Exciting moments in the world of sport, from Formula One to boxing, from boxing, a bit of tennis, and the MPFL, not forgetting European football.
Yes, but we'll start with the home from the MPFL Match Day weekend. We understand that just two teams will be busy on the continent. That's Enyimba and Enugu Rangers being busy on the continent. Enugu Rangers playing in the CAF Champions League, and of course Enyimba in the CAF Confederations Cup. Just last weekend, it was Enugu Rangers winning the first leg of the encounter, and Enyimba will hope to get 3 points that they deserve or they need this weekend when they play against their opponent right there. The question now is, will there still be, at the end of this group stage or this qualifying round, will there still be Nigerian representative going on in the CAF Champions League and CAF Confederations? Just 4 teams started this race, only 2 are remaining. All right, but we'll start with the Nigeria Premier Football League matchup this weekend for match day 3. Lobby Stars and Rivers United will face off at 2 o'clock, and Nasarawa United with Academy Warriors playing at 4 o'clock today. But then tomorrow we'll have Plateau United, Niger Tornadoes face off. Heartland and Casina United, Sunshine Stars versus Abia Warriors, and Kano Pillars playing against Remo Stars. And part of the game, of course, Ikorodu City away at Kwara United. Jimmy?
Well, I think I'll be looking out for Kwara United against Ikorodu City. Why? Because Ikorodu City have not started the season like much of persons expected. Not because they are vintage, not because they are invincible. After all, they didn't even win the NNL in the first place. But the fact that they are the only Lagos team, the expectation from the southwest is a bit high. Remo Stars as well. After starting the season and at the same time winning in front of their home crowd in their first home game, you expect that they keep up with that expectation. Rivers United on the other hand as well, after teaching Amunike side in Atland FC a football lesson the last time out, you'll be expecting, even though they are playing away from home, they should get something out of this one. But then again, I would also love to see what the judge is able to make out of this Rivers United team. After all that happened between themselves, the transition was meant to be something of high expectation from Enyimba to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But that's actually, look like there is a dent on his image at the moment. Not necessarily his image, but is profiling as a coach, so we need to bring that back up again, and no better time to do that in the MPFL with Rivers United.
All right, that's for the MPFL. But of course, while we wait for the action of in the CAF Champions League Enyimba, and of course Enugu Rangers involved in the Champions League and Confederations Cup. But of course, Jimmy, we had games come up last weekend. Enugu Rangers got the results that they needed, just 1-0 away from home. I mean, home. Play away from home this weekend. What do you think will be the outcome at the end of the day?
Enugu Rangers are playing away from home at this weekend against Esperanca, and it looks like a game they can win. The opposition should not put much of a threat. But then again, we've seen situations where our teams a lot is expected, or probably we expect them to do better, particularly in the CAF Champions League or African football, and they just let us down. But I don't think that will be the case of Enugu Rangers in this case. I think they've been able to perfect over the years of how to play on the continent. And if there's anything that probably gets on the group stage of the competition, it's probably Enugu Rangers. Maybe not the Champions League, but the CAF Confederation Cup. Even though they're in the Champions League at the moment, we'll wait and see what they can do. I haven't said this as well. It's the second preliminary round of the competition, the second leg, and they won away at home by 1-0. All they need to do is to score a goal, and then your opposition need to score 3. Is that realistic? Yes, they can get a goal. Can the opposition score 3? I don't think so. For Enyimba, on the other hand, going away from home to play a goalless draw against a 12 Filante or Burkina Faso in an home away from home match in Mali, then you can say that maybe they can't do it in Nigeria. The reason I'm saying Nigeria is because they are not playing by International Stadium due to the CAF license and all of that. They are playing in Uyo this time around, which is a bit realistic, but how much of their fans will come see them? But then again, Enyimba is a don't let me say global brand, don't let me say is a Nigeria brand. They have fans everywhere in Nigeria, and so you still expect their fans to troop out in numbers to come see them, particularly when they are playing on CAF competitions like this.
All right, well, moving on from that to what we have on the roads. Traffic update at this time. I'll start with we have on the WhatsApp platform from the control room, talking about earlier reported tipper loaded with granite, which upturned. Now, the report says transloading is ongoing. Meanwhile, vehicular movement has been streamlined into single lane toward Ikate. Now, for the transloading, still ongoing. Meanwhile, vehicular movement has been streamlined. Okay, still the same update as I read out. But the live camera update now, Penn Cinema underneath the bridge, Jubilee Bridge, is free in and out. I mean, everything's just normal there. That's some good news coming in from that area. Then the Kosi Road, K2 bus stop now, from Ojota inwards Mile 12, it's just slow movement. Nothing to worry about though, just slow movement. But then coming from Mile 12 approaching Ojota is fine. Really, really smooth ride there. And of course, Alakpere Junction, it's fantastic in and out. It's really smooth moving in and out. So that's basically about it on the road. So normally at this time of the day, road movement is really at a normal level. And of course, from the Lagos roads to the roads in Singapore Grand Prix in Formula One. Lando Norris is put in an imposing performance in final practice at the Singapore Grand Prix. That's the report. The McLaren driver set the pace 0.479 seconds quicker than anyone else, as Mercedes George Russell was second fastest from Norris' teammate Oscar Piastri. All right. Well, just last weekend, there was Oscar Piastri. It was actually McLaren, and this time it looks like they're getting in the mode. Now, Red Bull's Max Verstappen, whose 59th point championship lead Norris is trying to reduce significantly this weekend. This weekend. I mean, Max Verstappen himself was fourth quickest ahead of Ferrari's Charles Leclerc in the third practice session.
Well, the implication of this is that Max Verstappen will now have to walk his socks off to at least get a chance to close the gap between himself and Lando Norris. Not in terms of points, but in terms of the possibility of a certain Lando Norris winning the race proper this time around. Having said this as well, you also need to put into consideration that there is Oscar Piastri ahead of Max Verstappen, and what this means is that maybe McLaren now have Red Bull driver and Red Bull driver and Max Verstappen where he needs to be. So while he's trying to meet up with a certain Lando Norris, this is Oscar Piastri in front of him, who can be a big of a disturb for him going into the race proper and even in the race proper. It tends to be the distraction for him, and at the same time, although blocking is not allowed when it comes to Formula One, but things like this simply means Oscar Piastri can also chase to become the first and while trying to chase for the first can still allow Lando Norris to win the race. And in the process, he's not just fighting against Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. It's not just fighting against Lando Norris anymore. Talking about Max Verstappen, it's now fighting two drivers from the same team who can afford to connive and make sure that it doesn't end on the podium for him. Not even to some at the end of the day, may not even end close to them at the end of the day if care is not taken for Max Verstappen. But then again, it's one of the smartest and one of the most intelligent driver in the best engine Formula One this season. So in as much as they want to come up with a trick to see him a bit far off from a certain Lando Norris, they should also be very careful, because in the process, Max Verstappen can also be very crafty. And then again, I hope the number of stops this time around will not affect his quality of race. And I also hope that this tire exchange this time around will give us something to talk about at the end of the day. But with the situation of things, if it is Lando Norris in pole position going into the race, I'll just give it to him.
All right. Well, that's Jimmy saying it definitely is tilting towards Lando Norris, of course, as it has been said by him past couple of weeks. All right. Well, at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. With all these practice sessions usually don't, they don't have
I wouldn't have, Dari, I wouldn't have, but the hunger we've seen in Lando Norris of late, even when it's not in pole position, has shown that if I have the opportunity to be in pole, I will just race from first to the end.
Last weekend is a good example of what you have said.
So I'm sure you now understand what I'm trying to say. So now he's starting in front. All he just needs to do is to be consistent with it. Hopefully there is no safety car to cause distraction this time around, and before you know it, he may just take that from the beginning to the end. And Max Verstappen himself has shown that he can be licentious even when he's in pole position. So I will still give it to Norris at the end of the day. When was the last time Max won a race? Even when it was down, it was Hamilton that won the back-to-back races in one in Britain and then even in Holland. So it shows Max at this point is, I don't know, maybe he's distracted, maybe he's comfortable, maybe it's a thing of pride, maybe he also enjoys the competition that brings the best out of him. Maybe that's why we want to see Lando Norris get a bit close to him, and then he hits us when we least expect it. But for now, Lando Norris all the way.
All right, qualifying session is starting by 2 this afternoon. That's less than 2 hours from now. As a matter of fact, less than 1 hour 30 minutes from now, we will be seeing the qualifying, and of course, you know who gets to start in what position in the main race tomorrow. Okay, but then about Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, do you think the 4 times that Max Verstappen has won the championship is enough for him before another driver takes over? I mean, remember Lewis Hamilton back then 4 years ago when Max Verstappen overtook him. I mean, to win his first championship title. Well, it was almost like this because it wasn't a one-horse race in that particular year. And then at the last minute, when we thought that it was going to be Lewis Hamilton's race in Abu Dhabi, because we thought that it was really familiar with the track, and then we had the controversial decision by the race commissioner, which of course the race commissioner has been
was suspended.
In fact, I don't think he's involved there anymore.
2 differences. First is the fact that Max at that time was a young, although a bit experienced driver, and in quotes a rookie coming in at some point was learning the ropes, much hunger and all of that, and then was able to take on this veteran and then overtook the veteran. That is one. Norris is not an inexperienced driver. he's been there, done that. So I think the number of years on his side is enough for him to give someone like Max Verstappen, who is still also a young driver, a push. I haven't said that as well. Another factor we also need to consider is the fact that at that time, Lewis Hamilton had a poor start, and then the rejuvenation came towards the latter end of the season, in the second half of the season. But from the beginning of this season, particularly after the fourth race, Lando Norris has been on the neck of Max Verstappen, and then hence the reason for the wide margin gradually reducing down to 59. Hamilton needed to go on a roller coaster of about 3, 4, 5 races to catch up with Max Verstappen and then needed the final race of the season to hopefully win the competition, which unfortunately didn't happen. So this time around, Lando Norris knows that if he has to wait until the final race of the season to win the competition, then it may just be too risky for him. So hence the reason he's taking the fight now, getting all of the points, and probably the final race will just be like, let's go have fun in Abu Dhabi.
Let's go have fun in Abu Dhabi. Just one final question about Max Verstappen. Do you think that the reason for his not so focused performance or results since the start of the season, it's as a result of any internal situation, internal worry? I mean, you could say Christian Horner, the principal of Red Bull is alleged abuse,
female
sexual harassment is a factor, because all these things might not surface now, but then at the end of the season, if Max doesn't win the drivers' championship title, and all of this start to hear about that.
In all of this as well, I think internal distraction, no doubt about it, and then there is self-distraction himself. There is a talk of a certain Mercedes trying to tilt what's the name now, demand towards their side, talking about Max Verstappen,
Hamilton,
and Benny Ecclestone has been vocal about it. Sorry, Toto Wolff have been vocal about it.
That's
of Mercedes. We want him in our team. We talked to him at some point, and he hasn't said no to us. If you didn't say no to them, you are indirectly saying yes to them as well. So they've been pressing. Although I think he recently signed a new contract, but hey, new contract does not really mean anything when these days. I mean, you can sign a year contract, a 2-year contract, and before you know it, a company comes, still buy off your contract. So his silence shows that his allegiance at this point is divided. And then at some point, he also threatens to leave Red Bull. Yes, even though he's having the fun of his life. Earlier this season, he's saying, look, if Chris Horner dares leave, he may just end up leaving the team. So for you to say you want to leave your comfort zone, even when this legal decision is still pending, although it's been agreed that he didn't do it, it's still pending this woman have this courage and enough confidence, or so enough evidence rather, to back up her claim. So I mean, he's distracted. All of this in a team, all of this in a company that at some point looks so invincible, so vintage, have all of the engine they are looking for, have everything in place. Their hybrid car is one of the best, from aerodynamics to all of the terms they use in Formula One. It's a very difficult time for him, and I hope he just find this safety zone in himself, particularly his parents, who has been his guide, to concentrate on the race proper.
Now, just one final thing. This just came up to mind. The Lewis Hamilton replacement, with Max Verstappen, Mercedes, and of course Red Bull. In the past few years, we've seen Red Bull outperform the Mercedes. Mm-hmm. Could you say that what was not working for Lewis Hamilton in Mercedes, how is it going to work?
So with Max Verstappen. Okay, first, I think Red Bull.
At the same time, you could argue that as long as George Russell is doing well, why would Max Verstappen do?
Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think.
People will be wondering, okay, Mercedes really want Max, but then Lewis Hamilton just couldn't do anything with the car. Oh. How are they going to make Max do anything with the car?
So the thing is that these drivers are very smart. obviously everyone is smart. It's not just about the present situation of the team. It's not just about the present situation of the company. They tend to look at what they are going to achieve, the possible change in rules, which is coming soonest. And I don't think that rule will actually favor Red Bull anymore. So I think teams like Ferrari, teams like Mercedes, teams like McLaren are now working towards the new rules. And even there is this name of this team I'm trying to recall that recently changed from Honda that wanted to sack their team. That their backroom side wanted to protest in Baku the other time out. So they also have that in place as well. So everyone is making towards the effort towards the new rules, which at the end of the day may not favor Red Bull. So it's not about now for Max Verstappen. It's about the need to change the rules coming up in the next 2 years, which may not favor Red Bull. And the drivers, like we say, the engine make the driver. In as much as the drivers are very good, the engine still make the driver. If not, if the engine is that, if the drivers are that,
your analysis keeps bringing more questions.
If the drivers are that invincible, I mean, Lewis Hamilton should still be winning by now.
And about the cars making the driver, you know that recently Max Verstappen has been complaining about Lando Norris' wing. Why won't Red Bull do such?
Okay, so
with their own car.
All these things are their guides now. You understand how this thing works. I mean, you can't just start. See, the more they put parts in their cars, the more point deductions they get.
I know.
And also, the more penalties they get.
Yes,
well.
any adjustment
that
is
in
not
their car
done before the season starts.
And
you have to explain.
And on all of this again, there is car design and all of that and everything. Then Red Bull used to have the best car designer in the history of Formula One. The man is no longer with them. I think he has gone to McLaren now. This man is now a stakeholder in McLaren. I'm trying to recall his name. So when it comes to car design next year, it's likely going to get worse for Red Bull and get better for McLaren.
Okay, now we'll move on from there now to tennis. British number 2 Emma Raducanu retired from her Korea Open quarterfinal against Daria Kasatkina with an injury to her left foot. Raducanu struggled with the issue in the previous run against Yu Yang and continued to look uncomfortable in the opening exchanges against the Russian top seed. The 21-year-old was broken in the second game, but despite breaking straight back, struggled to serve and was unable to chase returns around the court. Of course, she needed a medical timeout after the 5th game and decided she could not continue after losing the opening set 6-1.
Well, story of Emma Raducanu in the last 2 years or 3 years now, since winning the US Open in 2021. It's been one injury on the other, surgery on her left arm. It's so unfortunate for a 21-year-old to be going through all of this. But then again, on his lies the hairs that wears the crown. So after winning, after all of that, I don't want to believe the quality is dwindling. I want to believe the physical strength is not just there to carry her. And she needs tournaments like this to test herself before the big stage. And I hope she finds her rhythm again. I hope she gets fit. She comes back to the Emma we saw at the US Open final. Is it Andre Biasco now, that final, and Andresu, the last final? It's difficult, it's painful for this consistent injury. Reminds you of when Andy Murray was going through all of this and at some point just had to give up and retire. Hopefully that is not our case this time around.
All right, we'll go on this final break. Talk traffic update again. When we come back, we'll talk everything football. And of course, we'll wrap it up with Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois. All right, welcome back to the show. Traffic update. Transloading is still ongoing. Meanwhile, vehicular movement has been streamlined into single lane towards Ikate. That's talking about the tipper loaded with granite that was upturned and split its content on the road at Chisco towards Ikate. Of course, towing vehicle contacted and of course present at this time. And still on the live camera updates, roads in some parts of the roads in Lagos are really free and good to go. All right, going from there now to what we have in football this weekend. Big games, of course. For English football, the Women's Super League has started for this weekend for the new season, but of course the first kickoff also has also been going on, which I can see that
What's that against Chelsea?
No, it's even for the Women's Super League. Man U leading West Ham. For Brighton versus Everton.
What their men cannot do now?
The women can do better.
Thank you.
All right, moving from there now to the men. Chelsea and their game early kickoff. Chelsea are leading by a goal to nil already. In 12 minutes away from home.
It's Chelsea. Anything can
But
still happen.
before you give us your take, just a quick talk. Man City and Arsenal this weekend, and of course some of the teams that did well away from the English Premier League fixture. Tottenham played AFL Cup, fantastic.
On you as well, 7-0 against Barnsley.
From a goal down, leaving it late to win that game. There was also Man City playing draw. At least they didn't lose.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing going into this fixture against Arsenal. But then Arsenal have
Also
some key
put out a
players.
draw.
Yes, and also have some key players going to be absent in this game. Odegaard still absent for sure. Declan Rice still serving suspension. What do you think the outcome will be tomorrow? Because that's the game.
First of all, I would like to. I'm sorry for asking you a question. Is Mr. Victor listening?
I'm sure.
So I still want
sure
to.
he is.
I still want to keep my job.
Mr. Victor will not say that Jimmy, don't do your job. So do your job.
Okay. So Mr. Victor, if you are listening, I have the backing of Gary to do this the way I want to. So even
you know what you are doing is what they call Ujuaye.
Okay, so having said that, I think it's going to be a very difficult game for the two teams. Why? Because they are both going to be missing their creative spark in Kevin De Bruyne for Man City and then Martin Odegaard for Arsenal. But then again, over years we've seen teams. If there is anything that can give Manchester City a run for their money in terms of when they face them, it's definitely Manchester City. It's definitely Arsenal. Last season, Manchester City was not able to defeat this team, although they are unbeaten now in their last 14 games from last season, talking about Manchester City. But then again, Arsenal on the other hand can say to themselves that even if we don't have Martin Odegaard in our midst, we can use the strength of our width in Bukayo Saka and whoever is going to be playing on the left wing, Gabriel Martinelli or even a certain Gabriel Jesus can as well play from the center or Trossard as well. So Raheem Sterling, who knows Manchester City better than any other player in that team. But then again, at the Etihad, Arsenal have not defeated this Manchester City since 2015. And at that time, let me put it in context, Mikel Arteta was still a player of Arsenal. So you can imagine the last time they defeated him at the Etihad. So it's always going to be a very difficult game for them, even if they have their full force. How much more when their creative midfielder is missing? But then again, defensively speaking, they have someone who can always stop them. And they have this best centre pairing in England at the moment who can always stop Erling Haaland in Gabriel Martinelli and a certain Saliba. At the end of the day, it looks like a game that will be very crafty, very corny, less creativity, a bit boring. We end in maybe a 1-1 draw.
Call it 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw.
Then AC Milan, Inter Milan.
Yes, there is only one team in Italy at the moment, and that is Inter Milan.
I beg. There's not only one team. There are 20 teams in the Serie A.
Obishi, nice one. Thanks for the correction. You sabi. You know where I was going with this. So,
I know.
I hate you. So I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I think it's going to be a bit difficult because it's a derby. Why? Because derby most of the time forms are thrown into the trash bin, and then before you know it, your consistent drive in derbies tends to take you on. And on this note, in as much as this will come to play for AC Milan, Inter Milan still have enough in their arsenal. I don't mean the Gunners to win this game.
Okay, just to wrap up the show, Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua fight is coming up tonight. Walk in the ringside should be around 9:45 p.m. And of course, the main fight should be around 11 p.m. tonight. So it's not a midnight fight that you are used to. But what will be the winner?
31 fights for Anthony Joshua, 28 wins, 23 knockouts. For Dubois on the other hand, just those 23 fights are his own, and he's left 3. Same for Joshua as well. Joshua seemed like a guy on the rise at the moment. He's learned his lesson over time, and the number of oppositions he's faced, I think, have been more quality, even in recent times, than a certain Daniel Dubois. Dubois used to be a sparring partner for him at some point, and I don't think your boy will always be your boy, even though he has learned a lot from you. You always have that final trick to always put him down.
That's how Joshua beat Klitschko That used to be, you remember, right?
So, but that is different. At that time of when Joshua, they were both at par. But even at now, the bar is not at par with Joshua. So I still think Joshua would take this one. He has said it, he can't afford to be licentious. He needs something to hold on to fight Tyson Fury. And belts like this can give you the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury. And who knows? Maybe Alexander Usyk who defeated him twice earlier.
All right, there's so much that we can take on the show Sports Trip this afternoon on Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. We'll be back this evening for Sport Lane between 6:30 and 7 p.m. Thank you, Dare-Ogun.
Thank you very much. Hopefully Joshua wins, Inter wins. Man City, Arsenal settle for draw. Bournemouth get 3 points. Come on, Bournemouth. You can do it.
My name is Daniel Johnson. Good afternoon and God bless.